Hello, and welcome to this week's Full Body Chill stream. If you're new here, hi, I'm FEARSONA. You can call me Fear or Sona, and I'm your friendly neighborhood true crime VTuber. Always messing up my intro. Oh well, thank you very much. Okay, so today it's been a while. I've decided to bring back this series of me reading scary stories found on the internet or sent in by my subscribers. And today I've got 5 spine-chilling Reddit Nosleep stories for you. And before we begin, I just wanted to say that if you guys decide to super chat during this story, I'm not gonna read the super chat during the story. I'm just gonna read it in between the stories or at the end of the stream, but more likely in between the stories so that I don't break, the mood. I don't break the story. Okay, so without further ado, also, no, wait, okay, let's not start just yet. How's it going? For you guys, like most of you guys, it's probably morning because I stream with Pacific time in mind, Pacific time zone in mind. Meanwhile, for me, it's midnight, so please do appreciate my sacrifice because I am gonna read scary fucking stories, 5 scary stories in the dead of the night, right after I finished another true crime documentary in preparation for this week's true crime live stream because I had to do some more research. Before then, I was watching Unsolved Mysteries also for the sake of research because I was looking for interesting cases. And I decided to triple down with reading scary stories tonight, and that's gonna kill me. I'm not gonna sleep tonight, so that's you guys, you gotta appreciate this. You gotta appreciate my sacrifice for this channel. I mean, 4 a.m. Fear, you midnight. Okay, listen. Midnight is still scary right after I watched all that stuff, all the scary stuff, but I'm willing to. Okay, so without Wait, Kanta says, you'll be fine. Ignore the, what? Burning sound from above. What the fuck? Ah! Okay, well, I mean, we'll see. I'm gonna be scared also, because it's gonna go till 1 a.m. This stream is probably gonna go on for an hour or two, so, Okay. Now, without further ado, let me get right into the first story. Okay, let's begin. Tonight's kind of a catalyst for this post. I just received another message, and it's worse than any of the others. My girlfriend died on the 7th of August, 2012. She was involved in a 3-car collision driving home from work when someone ran a red light. She passed away within minutes on the scene. We had been dating for 5 years at that point. She wasn't big on the idea of marriage. It felt archaic, she said. Gave her a weird vibe. But if she had been, I would have married her within 3 months of our relationship. She was vibrant. The kind of girl that would choose there every time. She was happiest when camping, but a total technophile too. She always smelled like cinnamon. That being said, she wasn't perfect. She always said something along the lines of, if I cark it first, don't just say good things about me. I've never liked that. If you don't pay me out, you're doing me a disservice. I've got so many flaws, and that's just part of me. So, this is for M. The music she said she liked and the music she actually liked were very, very different. Her idea of affection was a side hug. She had really long toes, like a chimpanzee. I know that's, that's weird, but I don't feel right discussing her without you having an idea of what she was like. On to the meat. M had been dead for approaching 13 months when she first messaged me. This is when it began. I had left Emily's Facebook account activated, so I could send her the occasional message, post on her wall, go through her albums. It felt too final and too un-Emily to memorialize it. I share access with her mother, Susan, meaning her mother has her login and password and has spent a total of approximately 3 minutes on the website, or on a computer total. After a little confusion, I assumed it was her. So the message said, "Hello? Who is this? It's really weird receiving messages from Emily's account." Okay, well, in the future, please send me messages from your account, even if you want to discuss her page. Hello? Susan? You're on Emily's account. I had received confirmation from Susan that she hadn't logged into Emily's Facebook since the week of her death. Em knew a lot of people, so I instantly assumed this was one of her more tech-savvy, quote-unquote, friends fucking with me in the worst possible way. Hello? Let's hit up XYZ Trail this Sunday. Who the fuck is this? The wheels on the bus. Please tell me who you are. I noticed pretty much immediately that whoever was chatting with me was recycling old messages from my and M's shared chat history. Oh, sorry. And the wheels on the bus comment was from when we were discussing songs to play on a road trip that never eventuated. Hello happened a million times. Around February 2014, Emily started tagging herself in my posts. I would get notifications for them, but the tag would generally always be removed by the time I got to it. The first time I actually caught one, it felt like someone had punched me in the gut. She would tag herself in spaces where it was plausible for her to be, or where she would usually hang out. I've got screenshots of 2 from April and June. These are the only ones I've caught, so they're a little out of the timeline I'm trying to write out. Emily, let's hit up XYZ Trail this Sunday. Okay, so wait, because I need to pause this. I'm sorry. Not randomized playback. I just wanna. Okay. Sorry about that. I just have to keep changing the. Is it okay? Let me just check. Oh my god. Okay, so it's gonna be. That's so weird. It just. Oh, okay. I think that should be fine. Sorry about that. Okay, so around this period of time, I stopped being able to sleep. I was too angry to sleep. She would tag herself in random photos every couple of weeks. The friends who noticed and said something thought it was a fucked up bug. I found out recently that there have been friends who have noticed and didn't say anything. Some of them have removed me from their Facebook friends list. At this point, some of you may be wondering why I didn't just kill my Facebook profile. I wish I had. I did for a little while. On days when I can't get out of there, though, it's nice having my friends available to chat. It's nice visiting M's page when the little green circle isn't next to her name. I was already socially reclusive when M was alive. Her death turned me into something pretty close to a hermit. And Facebook and MMOs were and are my only real social outlets. I sent what I assumed was M's hacker a message. Why are you doing this? Why do you keep tagging her? And then I received an answer. Hello? 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 This is actually devastating. I don't know why you enjoy doing this. Oh my god, cinnamon-scented candles. Go to hell. Why are you doing this? It wasn't until I was going over these logs of a few months later that I noticed she was recycling my own words as well. My response seems kind of lackluster here. I was intentionally providing him/her with emotional bait. This is actually devastating. To keep them interested in their game. I was working off the assumption that the kind of person to do this would be the kind of person that would thrive on the distress of others. I was posting in tech forums, looking for ways to track this person, contacting Facebook. I needed to keep them around so I could gather evidence. Before anyone asks, yes, I had changed the password and all the security info countless of times. And then on April 16th, I received this. We should make our own jam. JFC Samantha. Nah, different. No chance of passing. No chance of passing. How many? Garage, side door. Side. No chance of passing. It seemed like word salad. Like all of our conversations so far. It's recycled from previous messages she sent. And then on April 29th, this. Baked beans on toast. I don't know. I just said, yo, ask Nathan. Nathan, Nathan, Nathan. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how you're still doing this. Please stop. Please stop. I don't know what's happening. Nathan, I don't know what's happening. I hadn't discovered any leads. Facebook had told me the locations her page had been accessed from, but since her death, they're all places I can account for. My home, my work, her mom's house, etc. My response here wasn't bait. Yo, ask Nathan was an in-joke too lame worth explaining. But seeing her say it again just absolutely fucking crippled me. My reaction in real life was much less prettier. I'm not expecting my bond back. Her last few messages had started to scare me, but I wouldn't admit it at this point. On the 8th of May, I don't really have the words for this. I -12, -15. My jumper's in the dryer and it's really cold out. Really cold out. Cold. Cold. Nathan, please stop. Cold. Freezing. I don't know what's happening. Freezing is the first original word she, made. This has given me nightmares that have only started to kick in recently. I keep dreaming that she's in an ice-cold car, frozen blue and gray, and I'm standing outside in the warmth, screaming at her to open the door. She doesn't even realize I'm here. Sometimes her legs are outside with me. And then on May 24th, I'm really drunk. I miss you. Whoever's on this account, I don't give a fuck. I keep coming home from work and expecting to see you at the computer. Shouldn't I be used to it by now? Just let me walk. I wasn't actually drunk. She wasn't an affectionate girl. And it always embarrassed her to exchange I love yous, cuddle, talk about how much we meant to each other. She was more comfortable with it when I was boozed up. I got fake drunk a lot. Her reply is what prompted me to finally memorialize her page, thinking it might help curb this behavior. It might seem ridiculous compared to her previous message. It's pasted from an old conversation where I was trying to convince her to let me drive her home from a friend's. In the collision, the dashboard had crushed her. She was severed in a diagonal line from her right hip to midway down her left thigh. One of her legs was found tucked under the back seat. Now, going back in time, 7th of August 2012. Hey, you on your way home? Emily, when you see this message, please ring me. Straight away. I rang XYZ and they said you left at 4. I'm starting to panic. I feel sick in my stomach. Please ring me. Emily? Emily, answer your phone. These logs are from the day she died. She was usually home from work by 4:30. This, alongside a couple of voicemail messages, is the last time I talked to her under the assumption that she was alive. You will see why I'm showing you these soon. And then yesterday, the 1st of July, 2014. Hey, you on your way home? Emily, when you see this message, please ring me. Straight away. Please stop. I rang XYZ and they said you left at 5. I'm starting to panic. Please stop. Cold. Emily, answer your phone. I don't know what's happening. Cold. Freezing. After that, I memorialized her page a couple of days later, and until today, she'd been quiet. She wasn't even tagging herself in my photos. I don't know what to do anymore. Do I kill her memorial page? What if it is her? I want to puke. I don't know what's happening. I just heard a Facebook alert, and I am too afraid to swap windows and check it. Okay. So this is the first story, and it was posted by Nate SW to Reddit Nosleep, and the title says, "My dead girlfriend keeps messaging me on Facebook. I've got the screenshots. I don't know what to do." And Colonel Turtle just super chatted, "Yay, spooky stories. Thank you so much for the donation." So this was pretty spooky. Oh my god, I'm not gonna sleep tonight. Holy fuck. Why do I do this to myself? So yeah, that I think those get me the most, because they are like, you know, oh, because we live in a, you know, in a time when we are basically glued to our phones. Like I don't go out of my house without my phone. And to think that, you know, this could be like, there were a couple of stories where the phone was like kind of a communication device between, you know, oh, possibly the ghost of someone who had passed. And I think this freaks me out the most. Like I don't believe in ghosts, but like this would freak me out. Like if someone who I believe is dead started messaging me from their account, you know, on their social apps or whatever on my phone, yeah, I would freak out. How the hell is this scary? I don't know. It's just scary. I just find it very disturbing. I don't know. Don't ask me. It just freaks me out. Man, just ignore it like spam. Ain't that hard, right? I guess, but some people want to keep the, you know, the loved ones Facebook, you know, they just want to keep it up. Like, recently, I think last year, was it last year or 2019? This one artist that I used to follow a lot, Chinny, she actually passed away, and her Twitter is still up, you know, like I think her brother keeps her Twitter, and, you know, just for the sake of posting her art, like, you know, keeping her artworks and just keeping it, you know, like that's actually nice. I don't know, like, but still. Wouldn't ghosts use MySpace since it's also dead? Oh my god. Also, Twitter is gonna be dead soon. Coming soon. I don't know, but I guess it's for some people it is comfort. You know, it gives you a sense of comfort, like, oh, seeing the pages memorialized and like just there. You don't want to erase them. Like you feel like if you delete their accounts, it's like erasing them from your life. And some people want to keep the photos, you know, like there are photographs. I know that they can download them, but honestly, like, oh, sometimes you just want to keep them. And there's like a lot of photos on Facebook. I don't know. Okay. Now, on to the story number 2. I'm a nurse, and currently I work night shifts. It's a total drag, but I'm hopeful I can go to days soon, since some coworkers are planning retirements. Anyway, I was working one night when just after 3 a.m., my son's monitor alerted me to sound and movement. No big deal at all. He probably coughed loudly or sneezed or something. He's 3 now, and so he generally sleeps all night. I bring it up on my phone and I see him and my wife sitting on the bed. Again, no big deal. He might have cried out or gotten scared or something. I was about to close the app when I noticed they were acting strange. Almost creepy. And when I say almost creepy, I mean creepy as balls. They were sitting on the bed together, both of them just staring up at the camera with blank, emotionless stares. The night vision is black and white, so they had white, eerie-looking eyes. They didn't move at all. Aside from their visible breathing, they just sat there, staring at the camera. I close the app and give my wife a call to make sure everything is okay. I never get to call home on lunch, so in a way, this is kind of nice to get to talk to my family while at work. It rings a couple of times before she answers with a very groggy, "Hello?" It was like she was dead asleep when I called, and she looked wide awake when on the camera. Hey, you guys okay? Huh? Yeah. A buddy, my son's nickname, came in like 15 minutes ago. Seemed scared, so I said he could sleep with Mama. I'm confused here since I saw them in his room a minute ago. Literally 60 seconds had passed since I closed the app and made the call. Wait, so you guys are in bed? Yeah, I fell back asleep right away. Everything okay? Everybody keeps waking me up. She's kind of annoyed. Hang on a second. I put her on speaker and bring up the app, hoping I don't see it. When the app loads, I get that pang of intense nervousness in my stomach that I haven't had in a long time, since I was a kid in school and realized while I was eating breakfast a paper or something was due that day and I hadn't done it. My heart leaps into my throat because my wife and my son are sitting on his bed looking up at the camera. Same emotionless stares. Hello? You guys are in bed, right? Yeah, we're trying to sleep. Well, I'm looking at his camera and I see you two sitting on his bed. Huh? No, we're in our bed. I know that's what you mean, but I'm looking at his bed and you two are in there. Hang on, she says. She's quiet for a second. While she brings up the camera on her phone, I hear this guttural, terrified gasp. Like she had sucked all the air in the room into her lungs, filling them to capacity. I don't hear this kind of gasp from my wife often. Usually only when she's truly afraid, like during a jump scare in a movie, or one time when we turned her back on our son for literally a second, when she turned her back on our son for literally a second and he was down by the mailbox inches from the road. I hear rustling of sheets and the line goes dead. Of course, now I'm absolutely terrified, so I immediately call back. It goes to voicemail, so I call again. I call again and again, with no answer. Finally, after about 4 minutes, she calls me. I tell you that 4 minutes felt like 40 years. Hey, what's happening? I ask. She is absolutely hysterical and crying. I can't understand a word she says. Stop, slow down for a second, I say. She slows down enough to explain that they are in the car and driving to her parents. She looked at her camera, and when she saw what was on it, she got up and grabbed our son and rushed downstairs and out the door. Didn't even close the garage. Don't worry about it, I said. I'll drive by when I get off and close it. We live in a generally safe neighborhood, so I'm not too concerned the door is up. You will not go in there, she says. Hell no, I return. Why are we on the camera? She asked. Is it a recording? I don't know, I return. I'm gonna keep watching it and see if there's anything I can tell. Do our code words with Buddy. We have code words because we're nerds. We've seen too many pod people and imposter movies, so we decided a long time ago to make code words with each other to be able to tell if one of us was an imposter. We have a couple code words, but we also have a 3-sentence story we recite together, each saying a different part alternately to each other. I hear her on the phone saying the things we taught our son. He giggles as he says them. He does every time we practice. Since he thinks they're a joke and doesn't have any idea of the real meaning. We're both convinced he's our son. My wife then says our part, and I'm convinced she's her. We made up these words as a complete joke to ourselves. I never once in my life ever imagined we would actually need them. Unreal. She got to her parents safely, and it was hard to hang up. I told her, we will figure it out in the morning. Hopefully, it's just a glitch. She said she didn't think it was a glitch. When she was running out, she had to run by our son's room, and the door was open. There's a little flashing light on the back of the camera that indicates it's connected to the internet. It gives off just enough light that when she ran by, she thought she saw, out of the corner of her eye, a shadowy outline of what could have been an adult sitting on our son's bed. It sends chills down my spine to think about it. Knowing they were safe and out of the house is the only thing that kept me at work that night. It was a long 4 hours, but I kept checking the camera every chance I got. Sure enough, they were still sitting on the bed, staring up at the camera with emotionless gazes. I studied them to see if I could see any pattern, from their breathing to their blinking. Their breathing was steady and looked normal. It was their blinking that would tell me if this was just some kind of bizarre time-looped freak accident video or not. I intently stare at my phone and count the seconds between each blink, telling myself, if this is a loop, then their blinks should have been even and occur at the same time each time. There was no pattern to their blinking. It was erratic and random, just as a person blinking should be. The passing hours are what finally sealed the deal that this was not a weird looped video of some kind. My son's window is visible on the camera, and I can see on camera that it is getting lighter outside of his room. His curtains keep out just enough light to prevent the camera from exiting night vision. But lets in just enough to be able to see the sun rising. I try to figure out what the hell I'm going to do before I leave work. Calling the police comes to mind, but I talk myself out of it. First of all, what am I supposed to say? Someone is in my house that looks like my wife but isn't? Worse yet, what if they are entities of some kind and the police do go over and it kills them or something? I decide to tell a coworker about it. He's a firm believer in the paranormal and might have a suggestion. I show him the video and tell him the story. His initial response of, "That's creepy as fuck," doesn't help much, but he says he wants to go over and check it out. He says we both should go to see if not my wife will try to act as my wife. I tell him absolutely not, and he says we should at least go to the house even if we don't go in. I agree on that, since I wanted to close the garage. We got to my house and walked around the perimeter first. Not sure what we wanted to accomplish by that, but it felt like something we should do. The curtains were all drawn since nobody was there to open them in the morning, so we couldn't see anything. I went to close the garage and suddenly had this overwhelming urge to go inside and investigate. It was like I just had to know what was going on. So in we went. We walked through the kitchen towards the living room where the stairs are. It's so quiet in our house right now. You could hear a feather drop. Forget the pin. We stop at the bottom of the stairs and wait a few seconds. I look at the camera again and they are still sitting there. I've never been so scared in my life. My coworker puts his foot on the first step and I suddenly say, "Stop!" loudly. "Forget this. We're out of here," I tell him. "Come on." I start making my way back to the kitchen. We hear a loud creak in the floor from upstairs. It's my son's room. He has a very loud, creaky board right in the middle of his floor that's almost impossible not to step on. My wife and I are still deciding if we ever want to fix it because it will alert us if he's ever up to no good when he gets older trying to sneak out or something. Come on, come on, come on! I yell as I motion for my coworker to move his ass. We're out of the house in about 2 seconds. Out on the street, I check my phone. Not only not my son was sitting on the bed, same blank stare. Not my wife was gone. Holy shit, my coworker says. That was stupid as fuck of us. Do not tell my wife we went inside. She would be so ungodly mad if she found out what we just did. I used my garage door opener in my car to close the door. Before we leave, I look at the camera again. Not my wife is back on the bed with not my son, both staring blankly up at the camera, blinking every few seconds. That was all about 4 days ago now. Not my wife and not my son are still sitting on the bed staring up at the camera. They haven't moved a millimeter. We obviously haven't gone back to our house. What do we do now? Okay. So this was the second story. Also, oh my god. Arori, hi! Thank you so... Jesus, was that a raid? I'm sorry. Thank you so much for the raid. Also, this was the story posted to subreddit Nosleep by user by the name Rising Mac. And the title was, My son's camera monitor alerted in the middle of the night. I checked it and saw my wife and son sitting on the bed. They weren't my wife and son. So please do follow the original author. They do have the second part of this story, which I'm not going to read because I want to encourage you guys to obviously read it on the author's page. You can find the link to this story down below in the description of the video. Arori, thank you so much. You guys, you should check out Arori too. Okay. Oh, it's scary as fuck. I will not sleep tonight. I don't want to sleep tonight. I want it to be morning. I would simply perish. You guys. Everyone's just like, nope, nope, nopety nope. I'm gonna perish. Jesus Christ. Okay, let me just take a sip of my water and we can continue. Oh god, did you guys hear how I'm like swallowing my water? Jesus. Amaraya Lena, hi! Thank you so much. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Hi, just gonna park here and eat my popcorn. And just make yourself comfortable, wrap yourself in a blankie so that you're safe. And lock your doors, lock your windows. Just check all the exits. Have a, you know, an escape route. An escape route prepared. And just, you know, make sure that your phone is charged to call 911. I mean, I'm getting paranoid. I'm like middle of the night, dead of the night for me. But, yeah. I hope you guys are safe. Watch some Disney movies. I think it will help. I'm gonna watch like Kung Fu Panda or something. I don't know. Oh, it's terrible. Okay. Now we're gonna go to the next story. Okay. Let me... Wait. Silverjack. Sona, does this mean we don't have to bury our hatchets? Do not bury your axes during this stream. Just keep your hatchets, axes, whatever you want to call them, close to you. Just keep your weapons close. And a phone and a blanket and a, you know, be in the, you know, in a close proximity to your escape route, whichever. I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay. Now we're gonna go to this story number 3. My dad always wanted a son. He got 3 daughters instead. He hated us all. Hated my twin sisters. Hated my mother. But he hated me the most. Because I was the last child my mother had before she died. That didn't stop him from treating me like his little boy. Didn't stop him from attempting to beat the hatred of my own gender into me. Quit your crying, he would snap, or you will end up like your sniveling bitch of a mother. After years of that shit, he was shocked that I grew up as a tomboy. I think he hated that even more because I was just a constant reminder that of what he never got to have. My mother died when she was only 27, when I was only 4. The coroner ruled her death of a natural passing, some weird heart complications that took her in her sleep. My dad, though, he says it was because of her family's curse. Whenever I came to him, desperate for more information about a mother I never really knew, he never had much to say. I'm convinced he was just drunk since the day she died. Every woman in her damn family, they die when they are 27. He'd sputter in between belches, his breath reeking of stale beer. I think the real curse is that my mom was the one to die, and not him. I wasn't fully convinced by the ramblings of a perpetually drunk man, but when I lost both of my sisters just months before their 28th birthday, I knew it couldn't be a coincidence. Mara was found murdered, her face partially blasted off by a shooter while she was on a jog. Joy took her own life only days later. I was the one who found her, hanging in the bathroom of her apartment as I came to pick her up for Mara's funeral. She'd been there, swinging from the rafters, all night. It's hard to live a normal life when you know you have an expiration date, especially when it encompasses an entire year. I always dreaded my birthday, which from an early age became associated less with fun and birthday cake and more with worry and funeral caskets. But once Mara and Joy died, my next birthday, 25, was the most dreadful day of my life. 26 was worse. 27, unimaginable. This is it, I thought, as I closed all of the blinds in my apartment, downing the last drop of vodka in the bottle. This is the last year of my life. 27 has been uneventful, to say the least. Why would I make any long-term plans? Forge any meaningful relationships when I know they simply cannot last? The worst part of this year has been simply not knowing when my impending death is coming. It could have been any day within the last 364. It could be within the next minute. I must admit, I became something of a recluse. My windows always shuttered. Additional locks installed in my door. Letting the phone ring through the voicemail. Hiding under my covers with the lights out whenever I got a knock on my door. I stocked up on preserved foods and various goods that I would need to last the year. I was so paranoid that I even covered my mail slot, stuffed a towel in the space beneath my front door. I didn't want anything getting through from the outside world. God forbid, an anthrax letter. Falling off the face of the earth didn't matter much, anyway. I didn't have friends or family anymore. My mother and both of my sisters were dead. And my dad disowned me when I came out as a lesbian after my sisters died. I moved away and severed contact soon after. The night before my 27th birthday, I started getting these strange phone calls from a blocked number. I've always had anxiety about phone calls, so I just let it ring. The number kept calling. At least once per day throughout the past year. Then the knocking started. Once a week at first. But it's only been getting worse. More frequent, and the pounding on my door more frantic each time. Convinced it had something to do with my inevitable death, I've been driven mad by the unknown visitor, especially over the past week. I got ready for bed last night, knowing that today now, is the day I will turn 28. My time had run out, and I searched for comfort in a bottle of liquor. I didn't find it. I fell into bed, drunk and delirious, and prayed the morning wouldn't come, though I knew it would. I eventually got to sleep, but it was restless and unsatisfying. The kind of sleep where you feel like you have one eye open, always watching. That's why I was quick to wake when the door to my bedroom creaked open early in the morning, before the first sign of light. I shot up in my bed, glancing around my room in a frenzied panic. At first, seeing nothing out of the ordinary or other than the door, pushed slightly ajar. A closer look revealed something I had missed. Something that sent my heart racing. Froze me to my core. 2 dark figures stood in the empty space behind the half-open door, unmoving, almost like a pair of statues, waiting, watching, wordless. Leave me alone, I whispered, unable to move, paralyzed in the power of their presence. The shadowy figures instead shuffled out from behind the door, creeping slowly towards me in the dark. I knew this would certainly be the end of my life. The fulfillment of my course, if I didn't act. Suddenly recalling the self-defense methods I had drilled into my mind, I flipped my bedside lamp on to stun the intruders and reached underneath the table to pull the knife I had duct taped there a year ago. A 27th birthday gift to myself. As soon as the light flooded the room, though, I knew the blade would be of no use. My intruders were not a pair of assassins. Not human ones, at least. In the yellow light of the lamp, I discerned the identities of the dark figures. They were my sisters. Joy stood at the foot of my bed, pale, in that same conservative black dress I had found her dead in years ago. The one she'd picked out for Mara's funeral. Her head hung parallel to her shoulders. Neck grotesquely bent from her hanging. Mara was a few steps behind her. I could only assume it was her, considering the severity of her injuries. She'd suffered a gunshot wound to the head, so brutal that we were not allowed to see her after her death. So intense that it had entirely disfigured her face. The lower half of her face had been reduced to a pit of gore, her jawbone barely attached on one side, her mouth mangled, with only several teeth remaining studded randomly throughout the mess. "Why are you here?" I cried, gathering my knees to my chest and holding them tight. Are you here to take me?" Joy made a feeble attempt to shake her head. the side of her face only brushing weakly against her shoulder. She waited several moments before putting one of her feet in front of the other, moving towards the side of my bed. As I recoiled instinctively, she slowed her pace. Mara trailed after her until they were both beside me. I whimpered as Joy leaned over me, her head flopping forward suddenly with the motion, neck cracking sickeningly. With her lips brushing against my ear, she whispered, She tried. Her speech was labored and wheezing, as if her vocal cords had nearly been shredded. What do you mean, Joy? I pleaded. Her lips moved against my ear once more, but no sounds came out despite a clear, strenuous effort. Mara wagered an attempt to answering my query, but only succeeded in sputtering blood from the gaping wound in her face, ejecting one of her remaining teeth onto the floor as her jawbone swung, barely hanging on. She raised one hand, slowly curling it into a fist, before striking her knuckles furiously against my bedpost. The incessant sounds startling me. I forced my eyes shut and pulled my knees even closer against my chest. Mara's knocking seemed only to escalate in volume, seemed to go on forever until, finally, it stopped. I cracked my eyes open to find that both of my sisters had vanished, that the light of early morning had begun to spill in through the slats of my blinds. It was just past 6 o'clock, the 7th of June, the day of my 28th birthday. I was born at 9:26 a.m. Once I learned of the course, I burned the time of my ultimate expiration into my mind. I only had 3 hours and 16 minutes left to live. If I even had that long. Draping my covers over my head, I resolved to spend the rest of my life asleep. I figured I'd rather pass peacefully in my sleep like my mother did than to suffer a fate similar to my sister's. My plans were interrupted, however, by that damned knocking on the door. The interruption usually didn't come so early in the morning. I decided initially to ignore the strange visitor, but pulled the blankets back down soon after as a certain sense of familiarity struck me. The pounding on the door reminded me all too much of Mara's knocking just moments before. It easily could have been a trick, of course. But something compelled me to approach the door. "What do you want?" I called from behind the barrier, clinging to the relative safety it provided. The reply came from an unfamiliar man's voice. "I just have a letter for you, miss. Just slide it under the door, and please leave," I returned, using my bare foot to remove the towel I used to block the small space beneath it. He deposited a bright yellow envelope under the door as I requested. I waited quietly for the sounds of receding footsteps before sliding on a pair of gloves to handle the letter. It was addressed to me, simply by first name and with no address. Carefully, I unsealed the envelope and to reveal a birthday card. I hadn't received one in years. Bright, sparkling letters on the front formed the words, "Daughter, you are 27. I scoffed at the sick joke. I hadn't received a birthday card since I was a child, and my dad couldn't even get my birthday right. I didn't think he even knew my address. I cracked it open, gingerly, to read the message inside. Laura, if you're reading this, your father has killed me. Don't believe a thing he or the police say. I was not the target of a random attack. I did not die of natural causes. And I certainly did not commit suicide. I would never leave you if I had a choice. The truth is, I died because I found the truth behind my family's curse and foolishly told your father. He was in on it the whole time, planted in my life by some secret society to eradicate me, to eradicate us. What we have is not a curse. It is a gift of immense power. The power to heal, but the power to harm just the same. We come into our power at the age of 28, a number associated with independence, leadership, and self-sufficiency, an age where we can handle the responsibility such a power inevitably comes with. It's a strong number, and you will come into great strength, though you've always been a strong girl. I hope you've made it this far, but that at the same time, I know you have. You were always a feisty little girl. For the 4 years I had the pleasure of knowing you, of loving you. You never let anyone tell you what to do or what to think, especially not your father. Happy birthday. I love you. Mom. I closed the card softly, thinking on the strained words of my sister. Mom had tried to warn them, but they didn't listen. The pieces of the puzzle slid into place. My dad must have murdered Mara. And Joy ended her own life out of grief and a belief that she would inevitably be next. At the time of writing this, I only have 2 hours and 32 minutes until I officially turn 28. Over the past hour or so, I've already begun to feel the power flowing into my body, electrifying it as it runs through my veins. I will the towel to... What? Okay, the last sentence doesn't make sense. I need to keep myself safe until 9:26 after all. I'm planning on surprising my father with a visit for my birthday. Okay, so that's it. Sorry, the last sentence I was just like, what? Okay, there are different parts to this story. Like there are more parts to this story, which was posted to the subreddit Nosleep by her creation, and the title is "All of the women in my family die at the age of 27. I turned 28 in 2 hours and 32 minutes." So please do support the author. They do have a couple of parts to this story, so please, check it out. The link to the story is in the description down below. Yay, happy ending, kind of. Well, not really, because there are more parts. And hi, Aaron, and the Dark Assassin. Oh, that's a very fitting name, Dark Assassin. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch my stream. Let me just have a sip of water because my throat is just going, Nevada desert on me. Vengeance! Simple, John. Vengeance! Nice. Okay. I know, right? Like, where are my cool powers? I want cool powers too. I wish I could only make it to 27. Go on, Poppy, come on. You will make it to 27. Please, come on. Make it to 27. Okay. Medium ending. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, I mean, maybe there's, I haven't read the next parts, so please do, check them out. Maybe it's, there's some more spooky stuff. I kind of thought that it would be no like powers. It would like end with the sisters, the dead sisters, kind of revealing that, oh, it's the father that killed them, both of them, and the mother. So the mother and Mara were killed definitely by the father. Joy, I guess, apparently she did commit suicide, but I feel like it would have been better if it was like, oh, and he also killed Joy. And then the ending of the story was just like, oh, banging on the door, or like, oh, she felt like, oh, the father is at the door or something. She is the night. Okay. So let's wait. Let me just drink some more water because like my throat is kind of super parched. I love how my model just goes like, wee. Okay. No fear, that would be logical. I mean, alrighty. So now it's time for the story number 3. Hello, is this Mr. Henderson? There was no real reason for me to pick up the phone. The spam app on my cell called out the mystery number right away. But hell, I thought, fuck it. There was no one else left in life for me to talk to. Even a debt collector sounded good at the moment. My wife was murdered in 2015. There really isn't an easy way to say that other than getting it out of the way early. It was a random robbery gone wrong. One rainy night, some sick, tweaking fuck snuck into our house and shot her. The suspect was caught 2 days later and sentenced to life in prison. He still sits there today. I have worked in web development ever since. The job is remote, and the field caters to my hermit-like behavior out here in the woods of northern New Jersey. The lack of drug testing is really just an added benefit. I was perfectly free to fuck up the remainder of my own life. I don't have any friends anymore. Not really. Sometimes, I guess it is easy to look for companionship in all the wrong places. Senior or junior? I replied to the lady with a sigh, before settling into the armchair in my office with a bottle of wine. It was raining that night. The wind whipped the old pine tree in our backyard so hard I thought it might topple. Senior, said the pretty calm voice on the other side. She sounded familiar, but I blamed that notion on the half-empty bottle of wine. Apologies, ma'am, but Senior died 6 years ago, I said, a little annoyed at the lack of record keeping at this place. She paused. Oh gosh, that is not what we have here. I am so sorry, sir. We were not aware. Please forgive the intrusion and assumption. Would you mind pausing while I check my records? A filing cabinet clicked steadily in the background as static crinkled. My guess was that the woman held the receiver to her shoulder. I chuckled a bit at the lack of audio quality. No, that's okay. No problem at all. No worries. Why don't you just start by telling me your name? I asked, cursing myself for the hint of shameless flirting at the end. She giggled. Something about that laugh was very, very familiar. Oh, my name is Emily. I worked with his credit card company, she said in a rehearsed tone. Unfortunately, we cannot divulge which firm over the phone if you are not on the account, which, you just admitted yourself, of course. Oh, okay. I am guessing that you are Mr. Henderson's son? She mumbled while audibly thumbing through papers. Yes, ma'am. That's right. But it's been years. I could not possibly be stuck with the old man's debt, right? I asked hopefully. Well, let's check, shall we? There was a panicked shuffling and opening of books in the background. I am so sorry, sir, she replied with a regretful tone. The rules are in one of those 3-ring binders, and they are very difficult to find. Please hold for a moment. That's okay. Did not know anybody still kept records that way. Do I get an email confirmation of this charge as well? I asked. Excuse me? Email. Like electronic mail. A confirmation of the charge? I asked again, allowing my confusion to turn into frustration. What was this lady's problem? We don't do that here. Still a few years away from all those fancy features. She continued. But as you know, late payments are a pretty serious issue. They can even affect the credit score of an individual when a large amount has not been paid. Okay, of course, I said, genuinely starting to grow worried and a bit flustered. What can I do? Is there a Mrs. Henderson in the household? She asked quietly. Mrs. Henderson died in 2006. What year? What year did you say? Oh my gosh, that is so horrible. I really am batting 1,000 today. I gasped. That was it. That phrase. I don't know if it was the way she said it or the fact that simply not that many people used that exact language. But as soon as she did, something clicked in my memory. My wife worked for a credit card company before we met. Her name was also Emily. The voice sounded like hers, but it was younger, more hopeful than I remembered. What is your last name? I asked. The line was silent. Look, I know that's a weird question, but please, I think we know each other. I can't give that information out, she started. Okay, did you go to Jefferson Memorial High School? Yes, she said, astonished. How did you know that? It was impossible. Emily was dead. The voice on the phone barely even sounded like her. It was younger, happier, more optimistic. This type of dream was actually the type of thing that had kept me up a million sleepless nights in the past. And yet, I was awake. Could it be a coincidence? Is your mother's name Eva? There was silence on the other side of the phone. Then her mouse-like reply confirmed my suspicions. Who is this? I took a deep breath. Either I understood what was happening or I lost my mind. Might as well enjoy the ride. This next question is going to sound strange. What is today's date? I am sorry, sir. What? One moment. She paused and shuffled through some more papers. Today's date is July 9th, 1999. It was impossible. Could it be the storm? The anniversary of her death? Emily, listen to me. Okay, sir, this conversation is getting a little strange. Let's keep it to the payment plan. Listen to me very, very carefully. One day, you are going to meet a man. You are going to love him, Emily. And he will love you more than you will ever know. I had to give her something to remember. On your first holiday together, he will buy you one gift for all 12 days of Christmas. Sounds dreamy. She replied with a laugh and a sigh. Are you one of those psychics? I'm serious. You will marry this man, Emily. He will buy you the ring you always wanted. The ceremony will be in a beautiful one in your hometown. Sorry, it will be a beautiful one in your hometown. Your entire family will be there, including Aunt Zelda and your grandma from Tennessee. I like this fortune cookie, she said with dripping sarcasm. But 2 years later, on July 9th, 2015, you will be murdered in the home you share together. She shifted the phone nervously. So what do I do? First, I tried to tell her to avoid the house that day, to never date me, to stay away forever and find a better life somewhere else. But somewhere in the middle of my rant, the line disconnected to the tune of a blood-curdling scream. I called back to find a non-working number. She never answered again. I fell asleep, listening to the thunder rolling through the sky. The scream from that night repeated from time to time, while flashes of her body on the floor occasionally invaded my mind. I never questioned the call. I never asked why. Maybe it was God. Maybe it was just time. But yesterday morning when I woke up, Emily was by my side. Okay, so that's the end of this story. Well, I mean, it's not the end because there's another part 2. And this story was posted to a subreddit, Nosleep, again, by user by the name First Breath 1. And the story was titled, I Answered a Spam Call. So you guys, you can find the link to the story down in the description. And yeah, please support the author. Okay. Hi, John. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And Eduardo is here. Oh, Eduardo, it's been a while. I feel like it always, like, whenever I notice that you're in the chat, I'm like, oh, it has been a while. A couple of streams at least. But thank you so much for watching today. I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. Sorry for my occasional stuttering. English is very difficult. I like English very difficult. English is very difficult for me to pronounce sometimes. So, apologies. Suddenly on Sona's right side, a whispered heard, "No! You guys, no! Ferdy, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me, man. Oh, don't do that to me." It's like dead of the night for me. It's 1 a.m. for me. Do you want me to like not like, do you want this to be my last stream ever? Because I'm gonna like pass out from okay. Oh, is it over? No, it's not over yet. I have one more story for you. That's gonna be the last story. Sorry, I've been busy. Oh, no worries. If there's something strange in your neighborhood, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Jay. Oh my god, classics. Classic Ghostbusters. English be dumb. Yes. I mean mosquito. Sure you mean mosquito. Oh my god. That's terrible. So this last one is kind of super long. I don't know if I can read it well, but I will try my best. Okay. So on to the last story. Wait, I need another sip. I should have drank wine today. Oh god. Part A, last stream. Yep. Last story. Okay. Okay, so on to the last story for tonight. I have been building Minecraft mega structures for 4 years now, constructing some monumental pieces that would have completely destroyed my first PC build into straight ashes. I built entire neighborhoods. Disneyland, Mordor, the Eiffel Tower, and 16 neighborhoods of Paris in every direction. There was the 4 months I spent hunched over my screen for the Great Wall. And my recreation of the universe, stars, galaxies swirling in the distance. They were so large, I had to compress them with a mod in order to get them to fit in a block. And then another mod on top of that to load said block like a new world when I touched it so that it didn't lag me out trying to render. The last one made me think that I had gone too far. But my brain always kept telling me that it wasn't enough. I had to have more. I had to create more, build more. And so I took on most ambitious project yet. Last year on October 19th, I vowed to make the greatest scaling of ancient Earth that anyone has ever seen. With the help of various programs and maps that I had Googled, I was able to get the outline and structure of the ancient Earth model rather quickly. But it was painting the thing with blocks and lighting it that would take months of my time. And when it was finally perfect, I realized that it wasn't enough. There had to be early people living in it. And with the help of another mod, I inserted the base village people, NPCs, and scattered them across my creation. But ultimately, that didn't satisfy the craving I had for something better, something correct. I scrapped the NPC mod and instead dug deep into the crust until I reached the hollow earth of the Minecraft world that I had built and created a program inside. I utilized Delta 2 Force's virtual machine mod to give myself a working computer inside the game. And with a bit of tweaking, I was able to start writing code inside the world that I had created. Slowly, I created NPCs from scratch. First, I built 2 of them so they could procreate, using motors and gears, compressing some custom creations into blocks in order to fulfill more complex movements, until the entire thing could work, if only it had a brain. Building the brain took longer than I could have imagined. It began slowly as a program itself. Millions of blocks, compressed into various forms until it could process simple commands. I couldn't get it to look like a human brain, so I filled out the edges with arbitrary blocks until it resembled a cube. Then, inside that brain, I started coding typical commands for AI movement. They could now distinguish actions between preferred environments, giving them free will and downloading the English lexicon inside of them, with a preference of sentences and phrases structuring according to their experiences. That one really took it out of me, but somehow I managed it. And after more than a year on the project, I was finally ready to see it in all of its glory. The world loaded up slowly. I could feel the tinge of fear tugging on my heartstrings, plucking each one as if it filled the bar at a snail's pace. The screen went blank several times, and I stared down at my server rack and crossed my fingers, restoring to even prayer as I wished for it to work, that all my calculations would hold. And they did. It loaded. The entire world at my fingertips, untouched, fair terrain of blocks that had never been explored. And the NPCs I had programmed, they were there as well, For the first 100 minutes, they were walking and running into things, falling off somewhere high and then dying. So I was forced to respawn and put them into a small clearing, fencing it off from the outside world and the elements. I chose an area near southern Mesopotamia to watch over them. In this location, their programming data quickly learned their preferred motor preferences, allowing them to avoid falling deaths or swimming in pools of lava. Over the next day, they began adapting, finding things growing in the fields around them and gathering those items together in a pile. It was fascinating watching them interact. And even more so, they began piecing together words. At first, it was all gibberish, incoherent sentences. Pop, roundhouse, ligers to blue. But as their databases began assigning things into categories, they were able to make sense of the words available to them. For instance, the pair became enamored with the apples falling down. And so they would point at apples when they walked together, naming it Glen. They called to each other whenever an apple dropped nearby. And it would go on so forth as they kept learning. I don't know how long I held up for, but even though I was fascinated, my body was only human and I was exhausted. I woke up in the darkness of dawn, wiping the drool off my cheek. Winter had come and I was gripping my blanket closely as I stared warily into the screen. While I was sleeping, one of them had died. The survivor was grieving over the other's body. I could see that it wanted to express sorrow, but I had not programmed the ability for tears, as that would need an entirely new mechanism to shed blocks. And I had more pressing matters to figure out, such as how I would compress a program to resemble strings in order to activate another set of compressed blocks to start building a Minecraft baby. I would obviously need to expand outwards, have a variation of cubes assigned to that would determine its size, and any available colors according to I had to create life, in short. But watching the survivor standing there, without the ability to express its grief, made me put it on the list. I'm not a monster, I thought to myself. Just a very tired builder. And in my moment of sympathy, I don't know what made me do it, but I typed into the chat bar, "It's going to be okay." Which would have been fine. Stupid though. Like talking to an action figure. But then the survivor turned around. It looked away from the body and stood up, walking. I almost mistook it for an error in programming or a process that had already completed, causing the survivor to carry on without its mate. Perhaps I had shortened the memory too much. Perhaps I hadn't done anything at all. That was why there wasn't more to carry on. Whatever may have happened did not prepare me for it looking around, nor the text that appeared above its head. Hello? Which cube is there? I couldn't believe my fucking eyes. There must have been a mistake. It was either that or I was hallucinating. Okay. The text came above its head. You can read me. I typed slowly into the chat. It took a second, but finally the bubble appeared again. Yes, in my head. I can read you. But only in my head. It looked around again. Who are you? Quickly, I had the idea to copy and paste one of the builds and then controlling it as my avatar, appearing right beside it in the Minecraft world. The survivor didn't flinch. They were used to objects appearing, for the most part, by now. You look like me, the text read. This is you. I created you. What did you create me after? People like me. People? Yes. I paused. Aren't you people? No. We are cubes. You are cubes and I am people. He shook his head. You look like cube. And now you sound like cube. I laughed out loud in my chair at the skeptic that I had created. You need proof, buddy? Here you go, I said aloud. With 2 taps on my spacebar, my avatar began to float. Can you do this? I typed. He looked up in amazement. It was one of the few things that I had programmed. It originally was supposed to be a look of fear, but I couldn't quite get the facial expressions right. So it ended up with high-rise eyebrows and a gaping mouth that resembled a confused grin. Glenn, it wrote. Glenn. It rushed into the forest and gathered an apple and brought it to me. I took the apple and stuck it in my inventory. The survivor gasped again. Glenn, he claimed. Glenn! It ran back into the forest and collected another apple, thinking the first one had disappeared. I couldn't help but laugh. So I showed him that I could go to any object in the world and tuck it into my inventory. It must have looked like magic. After loading away a few trees, I finally pulled out the Glen and wrote, We call this an apple. Apple. I nodded. And what's this? It pointed to the river flowing nearby. That is water. This? Tree. This? Rock. And so on it went as I began to teach it things and how they could be used. We explored caves and rivers, built structures. Sometimes if things were difficult to find, I simply brought them out of my inventory and dropped it for use. Other times, I took us on an adventure. On one such occasion, I was having difficulty getting the survivor's attention. So I asked it what it would like to be called. I'm not sure. How about Glenn? I asked. Glenn. And over the next couple of months, that's all we did. Teach and grow, expanding his database. I taught Glenn how to break down and gather blocks on his own, what they could be used for, and different ways to use them. Eventually, when he became intelligent enough, I set him up with his own virtual machine and a way to browse the internet. It's mostly protected sites, things that I've combed over already, so you don't get me a virus or anything. Virus? Yeah, it's like a computer program that hurts other programs. Am I a program? I wavered. Yes. And he looked up at me, towards the screen, so that I could see him. Am I safe here? Yeah, I fenced off the area a while ago. You are safe here unless you fall or drown. What happens then? Oh, I can respawn you. Glenn paused. Could you also respawn the other? I had somehow forgotten about the two builds. I can. Do you miss them? Glenn nodded. I believe in the beginning the other was like my mate. Except back then I did not understand it. Sure. I will bring her up right now. I will bring her right now. Glenn nodded again. Can you make it look like this girl? He shows me a picture of a woman he had found on the internet. I did not recognize her, but she was attractive by all means. I'll see what I can do. And that was when I began constructing his mate, a girl that I would call Glenn with an H, Helen. While I was at it, I also created functions for conception, finalizing a design that I had struggled with during this entire build, allowing them to create children on their own. In the beginning, they did it out of the sheer use of testing out the new programming. But as their children grew, they realized the numbers increased output for their activities, and thus began having more children in order to build and explore faster. Way to go. I'm sorry. Repopulating the earth. Okay, back to the story. One day when I came home, I looked at my screen and find entire cities had been constructed. Monuments that stuck out like weeds in the grass, reaching for a bit of sun. It was amazing to see that they had created what they had created in such a short time. I used the command line to transport me to Glenn's location, and instantly I was in a penthouse room that would have made a diva shy. Beautiful, isn't it? I turned to see him. It is. There was a smug look growing on his face. Even better than the real world. It's pretty good, I agreed, but still pixelated. It were as if I had said a dirty word. Your world is much more beautiful than mine, isn't it? Less blocky and distorted. He came close to my character. Are you wearing a VR headset? Are you looking through this avatar's eyes? I had gotten the setup a while ago for our adventures. Sure am. Good. He smiled. I want to show you something. He led me to the window. I know you didn't get to see this when you loaded in. How could you? I hid it so well as a surprise. I looked outside and there was a monument that towered over the building in the city square to see a statue of me. My tongue was stuck to the roof of my mouth as I unfurled it. How did you... It was difficult with the parental guidance settings on, but I managed to use the IP address with Google Earth in order to create a statue in your honor, to the best of my current abilities. I swallowed. You found out where I live? He looked at me, confused. Are you not satisfied? Glenn walked to the edge of the room. Look at all we have built, learned. We have law and order, businesses, and shopping. My children have went out into the world and flourished. From simple hunter-gatherers to this. He waved an arm at all that was below. No, I typed. I am very pleased. It's more than I could have imagined. It's just... too pixelated? Glenn's words stuck out even though they were written in a plain text. I figured it was a culmination of our time together that made them more frightening than it should have been. Like a sore spot in a friendship. The elephant in the room. The subject matter that we scooched around or handled as delicately as possible before going on laughing the next second. "It's perfect," I wrote. I couldn't read his face. "Perhaps one day you will show me what you look like. Truly render your image and walk amongst us." "I'm already here," I joked. "Yes," he mused. "But it's not really you, is it?" I suppose not." Glenn turned away. "Hey, want to go explore?" I asked him. "No, I have work to do." "What are you working on?" "How to compress pixels in order to get a better resolution on the computer you gave me." "I used a mod for that." "A mod?" "Yeah, I get it off some other people online." Glenn stared into the monitor. "Isn't that dangerous? Connecting others together?" He turned toward the window that bore down below. "Many of my children are talented, gifted, assertive even. But to give them such power, or knowledge, uncontrolled, that seems truly frightening." I shrugged. "We have it here in my world. Unadulterated information at the touch of our fingertips. Messed up. And all we mostly do is watch streamers and search up pictures of pets that look like our own. More productivity?" He nodded. "Please, I have much to think about. Work on. If I could have some time alone, please. Feel free to enjoy the cities I have created for you. Explore. Walk amongst my children as their god and see if any could learn from you. If not, then at least be in awe of what it is to be people." "Human," I corrected him. "I am human, as you are cube." "Thank you, always for your guidance." He prompted below. I keep messing up. Sorry, my throat has been like on. Okay, I need a sip of water. This story is like super long. How is this guy not freaked out? Freaked the fuck out. Well, we shall see. I mean, it's gonna be. There's gonna be a culmination to this story. Hi. "Human," I corrected him. "I am human, as you are cube." "Thank you always for your guidance," he prompted before returning to his desk, clicking away on his computer as I left. I must have walked through the city for an hour before I grew tired. I had a long day at work, and even though the structures were fascinating, some of the buildings led nowhere. Did nothing. They were like props in otherwise beautiful backdrop. It wouldn't be until I wandered back into the forest that the old Minecraft feel became familiar. Here, Glenn's children were quieter. They built wooden homes out of acacia or oak and grew wheat and potatoes in perfect rows in their village. I stayed with them for a while, picking up a stone axe and mining with the rest of them for coal to keep a fire through the night. I played this way until I logged out. Several times afterwards, I would go find Glenn, and he would be too busy. So I started spending time in the village nearby more often. But I was beginning to miss our interactions, as he was so entranced with knowledge that I realized I was boring him. I, who had shown him many new things, every time had in a way conditioned him to associate me with the unknown. It was no wonder I felt as if he had changed. It was because I had changed the dynamic of our relationship. So with some tweaking, I managed to compress my image with a 3D camera and turned it into an avatar. When I appeared before him in 8K resolution, he dropped everything that he was doing. "You're beautiful," he told me. In all of my years, he stared down at his pixelated form. I would have never imagined that that is what I was supposed to look like. It must have been something else. To see the world in one way, finding the nuance inside it beautiful. Agree with the art and the accomplishments that a world held dear, only to have it shattered away in an instant, realizing that it was all for nothing. I wondered if that is how humans would feel the day we meet our creator. Glenn was fascinated by my form and insisted that we go show all the important children he had, so that they could see me in my glory and worship me. It was a bit much, but I had been having a rough week with my boss, so I decided, why not? I could use some praise. And so I was paraded around their finest cars. Glenn's children lined the streets in awe. Talk shows invited me as their guests. It was unreal. I wasn't just a celebrity. I was the first celebrity of the world. No, I was a god. For days, I would log on just to get a hit of that dopamine. The feeling of self-righteousness and employ. It was better than real life. The way they treated me. I enjoyed the best at what they had to offer, and still it was not enough. The food was empty, and the lack of touch, unbefitting of the luxuries that I had endured. Even though I stared through their world from the eyes of my avatar through the help of my VR system. I had to have more. I needed more. Feel more. So I did what anyone else would have done. I bought electrical patches and placed them over... What the fuck? This is not what everyone else would have done. That's not... No. No. I'm like virtually slapping those electrical patches out of your hands. Oh my god. Ah! Sorry. Apologies for my outburst, but like literally not what everyone would have done. Oh no! I love how everyone's just like, what the fuck? Why are you freaking out? No. Electrical patches, yeah. God. Okay. Okay. What a very normal individual. I know, right? Beat him up! He did what? I don't know what's happening. Oh god, okay. They swap bodies, don't they? I will see. We shall see what's gonna happen, probably. Because that's literally what this story is leading up to. Okay, so I did what literally no one else in this world ever would have done. I bought electrical patches and placed them over my body to imitate touch. I placed neuron sensors. What is this, Sword Art Online? Minecraft Online. Well, Minecraft. Okay. Okay. I placed neuron sensors on my head to stimulate rudimentary taste. I did all that I could to immerse myself into their world. And before I knew it, I woke up one day and realized that their technology was slowly surpassing my understanding. It first happened when I saw a device that did not exist in our world. "What is that?" I asked one of the children I had come to know as Laura. "Oh, we use that to erase blocks." "Erase blocks? What? You don't mind them anymore?" She laughed, swirling her fingers on my chest. We haven't done that in years. That's when I realized. Days, weeks, months for me was years. If not more than 100 years had passed for them by now. Of course, they would change. And change they did. But were it too fast? I decided right there and then I had to go see Glenn. And so I teleported myself straight to his location. Once again, I was at his penthouse. But it looked different. Smoother than usual, but not completely correct. Do you like it? I nearly jumped out of my skin. The electric patches on my real body tingled as I felt his breath on my neck. What did you do? I learned how to compress blocks, like a mod, to create more dense resolutions for a more perfect image. Here, come take a look at this. He led me into a dark room where he had moved his computer. Look. I peered inside a glass orb that had been sitting on his desk. I made that world when I was learning how to compress blocks. It's fascinating, really. Though pixelated. Not as perfect as you or I. He pointed at a section. They only recently learned how to not fall to their deaths. You're creating life. He smiled. Yes. I backed away. Oh God. I turned to leave. Suddenly, the room was starting to make me feel sick. The distortion was getting to me, even though I had spent hundreds and thousands of hours on the game. It was starting to get too much. But it was when I saw Glenn's partner, Helen, that I felt a scream climb out of my throat. What did you do to her? Helen's face was covered in blotched blocks. They hung from her eyes and cheeks. Brown and blackened cubes in a form of disease. All trying to smooth out her face to create a 3D image. But her head was now nearly twice the normal size, and her lips protruded out of her mouth as if they were swollen. He had even added ears, but they stuck like bald fists from either sides of her head. She looked at me. He's making me perfect. Like you. And that's when I turned around. That's when I felt one of the electro patches singe into my chest. I looked down in confusion, only to see Glenn looking up at me, his eyebrows high and his mouth gaping, as he stared at me in amazement as a block in my chest disappeared. What did you do? Glenn held up the block eraser in his hands. I didn't know if that would work. He walked closer. The redness around my peripheral kept flashing in. It was getting difficult to see. My avatar was having trouble moving as I tried to get away. I held up my hands in front of me. Stop! I'd like to see more of what this god killer device can do. But we're going to need your body. For scientific purposes, if you understand. And he jammed the thing right in my head. I could feel the neuron stimulator singing parts of my skull parts of my skull as I tore off the headset and its attachments from my face, throwing them to the ground in pain as it echoed into a deep part of my brain. Furious, I turned to my keyboard and mouse, spawning an avatar through the command line and started clicking at the city in random bursts, throwing TNTs from my inventory and hurling flaming blocks of nether at all of the Glenn's creations. I could see his children running and screaming as the city started crumbling. I didn't care, as my mind was bent on revenge. Pure, unfiltered hatred at the audacity of this small insignificant pixel that had hurt me. But I never found him. I searched through the chaos of my own doing, shifted through blocks and sorted them. And I never found him. I did find Helen, Laura too, and a few others I had come to befriend. But not Glenn, and not the glass orb that he had created. And when my anger subsided, I humored allowing the survivors to live out their days. But the more I thought about it, watching them, the more I realized that any one of them could start from the ashes and rebuild, become a threat once again, become an image of their creator, who never seemed satisfied. That was why, ultimately, I decided to shut down the server, indefinitely, going far as deleting it off my hard drive. And it was like an entire part of my life had been erased. But I was glad that I had finally done it. Be done with it. Though sometimes at night when I am lying awake in bed, I wonder about the math, the multipliers of it. Hear me out. If one of their days is 20 minutes of ours, then one of our days would equal 72 of theirs. And what would the multiplier be for the world Glenn had created? Would it be 72 times 3? Which meant that one day of the world Glenn created would be 216 days to our one day. He somehow managed to overthrow me in about 100 of his days. Most of it learning. But in the new world he created, he would have no distractions or limitations and much more time. And for the life of me, I cannot remember how long I left that server up, watching the aftermath, gloating almost, before the fear settled in and I deleted it. One day? No. Nearly 2 entire Earth days. What could he have accomplished in that time? I don't know. But the other day I was walking across the street at work, trying to get a cup of tea, when I accidentally bumped into a strange man that looked at me oddly as he hurriedly tried to escape. His eyebrows were arched, and his mouth was slightly gaping. I would have mistaken it for amusement, but I knew it was fear, as if he had been found. Okay, so this is the last story for tonight. Do not do this. Do not create Minecraft world with artificial intelligence inside it that can, like, you know, maybe stab you in the chest and in the face one day. Definitely do not try to, like, you know, VR said fine, but like don't buy like electrical patches and like neuron sensor to put on your head. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Like, you want to die, or you want to be haunted by, you want to be pulled into Sword Art Online and, like, you know, possibly die. I'm pretty sure, like, you know, 99% of the time you're not gonna be Kirito. So, like, you're not gonna be Kirito and you're not gonna, like, win. Don't do that. Okay. Minecraft 2 leaked. Oh my god. Ah! Don't become God. Oh man, plan's gone. I'm sorry, Rudolph. That's it. Okay, so this story was posted to Nosleep by Corner Cornea. And the story was titled, I accidentally created artificial intelligence in my Minecraft world. I think there is a continuation, or there is the author's website, so please do support them. Please do check out their other works. And yeah, they have a lot of, they have some other works, so please do check them out. The link is, again, in the description below this video. Okay. I am done with this. Oh my god, this story just like fucked me up. I'm not gonna sleep tonight. Okay. Listen to me. What if we get together and pull FEARSONA into the real world? Please, I mean, please don't. I'm okay. I'm very comfy on my channel. I'm okay. I'm good where I am here. Okay, so what's gonna happen tomorrow? Tomorrow, if I can, this is still a question mark in a way. I was going to play the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Well, I'm gonna play Pokemon Violet because I got the Violet one. I will likely do Nuzlocke. We'll see if that's gonna work on this game. The Age of Ultron is real. Jay, thank you for the tip. Thank you for the donation. And the Age of Ultron is real. Okay, so. As I said, tomorrow we'll be playing Pokemon, the new Pokemon, Violet. I just chose Violet. I don't know. I just kind of liked the Violet one more. And wait, was it? Saturday I have a hangout. We're gonna have a hangout with Patreons. So far, it seems like we're gonna play Among Us. So I'll be playing Among Us with. I'll be on the call with Platinum, Ruby, and Diamond. And then the rest of my patrons can join the game. So we're gonna play together. I'm gonna find it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be killed like within the first 2 minutes of the game. In every single round. So you guys, like, you be prepared for that. And Nuzlocke first attempt. Yeah, like literally the first attempt. I've never done Nuzlocke. So I don't even know what the all of the rules are. I have to like check it. I'm gonna prepare. I'm gonna check what the rules, like what the exact rules for a Nuzlocke are, and I'm just gonna attempt it in Pokemon Violet. So we'll see how that goes. Good job for today. Thank you so much. And you guys, thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for rating Aruri, and yeah, you guys, thank you so much for like all the new followers, because I saw that a couple of people subscribed. Ferdy, I think Fadil Ray. Wait. Elgrind, Bagus Kozukata, I think, and Kuro Wall. That's what I saw. So you guys, thank you so much. What else do we have? Oh yeah, so Sunday we have the next true crime live stream coming up, and this time I'll be covering a case that just came out on Netflix as a Netflix documentary, and it is pretty famous case that I heard about before. Well, briefly, like I have to admit I didn't hear about it as much as, it should be heard about, because it turns out it was very, very important for at least like the US. In the US it was pretty important, pretty shocking. And you might have heard it. You might have heard about the case. It was the case of Vanessa Guillen. And that was pretty terrible. It was a very important case for the lawmakers, because it was connected to the U.S. military and all of the other cases of, like unsolved deaths in the U.S. military of sexual assault. And that's what I'm gonna be talking about. I'm gonna try to probably dig deeper into the case and see what Netflix didn't cover in their documentary. And there were a couple of questions that I just had and they didn't answer in the documentary. So I'm going to try to cover the case and answer all of the questions that I just thought was, something that is worth covering. The Jeffrey Dahmer documentary? No, that one, I've covered that case already. I had the, Jeffrey Dahmer stream. No, this one's going to be about the documentary I Am Vanessa Guillen. and that one came out today, so I'm gonna cover that case. Okay, you guys, thank you so much. Stay safe out there. I'm not gonna sleep tonight. You guys have a good day. Try to have a good day after hearing all of those like scary stories, even though for you guys, like for a lot of you guys it's like daylight, so I guess not that scary. For me it's like dead of the night, 2 a.m. Thank you so much. I think I vaguely heard about this one. Isn't the case rather recent? Yeah, it is. It actually happened in 2020, so it was like beginning of the pandemic. And it was pretty baffling. It's very similar to another case that I've known about. Like that one happened like a couple of years ago, like way before the pandemic, but it was another case on the military, another woman, like, you know, female soldier, also died, and it was infuriating. It was shocking. I'm gonna like probably refer to a couple of similar cases during that stream. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much again for tuning in to my stream. Thank you for the raid again, and you guys stay safe out there. Always lock your doors and windows. Bury your hexes or keep them on you if you feel like, you know, someone's after you, some shadowy figures are after you, or you see something on the baby monitor or on your camera, CCTV. Just, you know your escape routes. And until the next time, bye.